Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David and we are back for yet another library tour because we've got a timeline of the end of this year and we have plenty of books to get through yet. I am onto shelf number 2 out of 4 and still on the top shelf of number 2. Not counting the stuff that's above. There we go. Right there. The stuff that's above where the sump pump is. That noisy little thing. Let me know if it's noticeably interruptive because it bothers me, but my wife swears that it doesn't really come through in the video, which is what prompted me to go into what she is terming as the dungeon to make my videos. So I want to know from you who are listening, because I don't usually play back my videos. As you can tell, I don't edit really, so I don't find a real need to watch my video again. So we are doing a library tour. I'm grabbing 10 books at a time in order through my shelves and reading the back of them to determine two things. One, is this book still piquing my interest enough to want to stay? And two, is it something that you would be interested in? Because let's face it, you might see books that you've never heard of, such as Return to Roche World, right here by Robert L. Forward. And you might hear how it goes and be like, you know what, I think I'd maybe like to check that out. And so I'm assuming this is a sequel, because it says on the back, praise for Roche World. So this almost certainly is a sequel, so I'm not going to read the back on this one. I'm also not an owner of Roche World. That seems to imply that this is probably a pretty safe one to say, you know what, let's just part ways with it. If later on down the line, I end up, finding Roche World and reading it and really enjoying it, I can pick it up again at that point in time. So that's a nice, easy, let's get rid of it, because I'm actively trying to not necessarily reduce my library, but to cultivate it more intentionally, so that what is in here is what I'm actually really excited about. I don't want to, be on a 500 book challenge, for instance, and be 400 books in and realize, okay, the last 100 is going to suck, because I'm not excited about any of these. More on that 500 book challenge probably on Friday, if I get around to a Friday reads. But here we have Time Master by Robert L. Forward. So this one probably is safe to read. And of course, it just has blurbs from A.E. Van Vogt, Greg Bear, Verna Vinge, Poul Anderson, Arthur C. Clarke on the front. So here we go. Science fiction adventure in the grand tradition. Read the tale of Randy Hunter, billionaire industrialist who communicates with aliens, achieves interstellar flight, and explores far-flung worlds in a future filled with technological wonders. The future physics is mind-boggling but firmly grounded in the science of today, and the action never stops. Time Master. Okay, that actually sounds extremely good. So that one will happily stay in the collection for now. Next, we have The Rest Must Die from Richard Foster. In the ruined subway tunnels weaving below the dead city, the survivors fought each other like savage animals. Sounds like a Garb August book. The people trapped on the subway platforms and trains looked at one another like beasts in the jungle. Fear, hunger, lust, and the desire to kill naked in their eyes. Just a few hours before the wavering wail of the air raid siren had sounded, as it had so many other days, only this time it had been the real thing. And New York City had been wiped out in one blinding white flash. Now a small number of men left began their terrible battle for food and survival. For the few women left them, thus the law of jungle was supreme. Kill or be killed. Take or be taken. Yeah, that sounds very much like a perfect August read. mean, I'm kind of indifferent on it. It's short enough. I think I'll keep it around. Maybe I'll get around to it. Maybe I'll decide not to. So we have Path of Honor by Diana Farrow Francis, author of Path of Fate. So I am assuming that this also is a sequel. Does it say in here? Sometimes they are nice and helpful. Tell you, series. So I probably shouldn't read the back of this one either. But I do remember what caught my attention on this one the first time was that cover. Just makes me want to read it. I have a lot more sci-fi than fantasy, and this looks like it's going to be more fantasy than anything. I'm going to hang on to it. Call me crazy. But, yeah, I'm going to hang on to it for now. If anybody knows anything about the series there. But Diana Farrow Francis, I need Path of Fate. Is it worth tracking down? Is it something that maybe someone has an e-copy floating around somewhere? I might try to check out a sample on Amazon and see if I can get a sample. And it may be one of those things. So my wife is encouraging me to get more audiobooks. She said, you should sign up for Audible. If it'll get you listening to audiobooks, and then you can, instead of just sitting and reading, you can go and walk and read some. So maybe I'll pick up Path of Fate next month when I get another credit. Anyway, we have James Allen Gardner, Expendable. Under the benevolent leadership of the League of Peoples, there is no war, little crime, and life is sacred, unless you're an explorer. The ugly, the flawed, the misfit, the deformed, they are the unwanted, flung to the farthest corners of the galaxy to investigate hostile planets and strange, vicious creatures. Out there are 1,000 different and terrible ways to die. Festina Ramos belongs to the well-trained, always dwindling ranks of ECM's expendable crew members. Now she and her partner, Yarun Derigna, have been ordered to escort the unstable Admiral Chi to Meliquin, the feared planet of no return, which has swallowed up countless explorers before them without a trace. Obviously, this is meant to be the last mission for Ramos and Deriga, but it won't be if Festina can help it. Yeah, we'll just part with that one. It could be good. But speaking of good, I know this is good. Pulling this out makes me want to read more David Gemmell. Except this is all the David Gemmell. I read this, I think, not last year, but late the year before. At the strong recommendations of James Fetcho, who was a very, very avid commenter at the time. Not as much now. Hopefully he's doing well. But he swore up and down by this, and he convinced both myself and Michael K. Vaughan separately to read it, and we both absolutely love the legend. So here we go. High recommendation. Druss, Captain of the Axe, is the stuff of legends. Tales of his battles are told throughout the land, and the stories expand with each telling, but Druss himself grows older, until finally the warrior turns his back on glory and retreats to his mountain lair. There he waits his old enemy, death. But far below, the barbarian Nader hordes are on the march. All that stands between them and the Draenei people is a mighty six-walled fortress, Dros Delnoch, a great citadel that seems destined to fall. If it does, the Nadir will sweep inexorably across the land, killing all those who oppose them. Reluctantly, Druss agrees to come down from his mountaintop to lead this last hopeless fight. Lost causes mean nothing to him. He has fought in such battles 1,000 times in 1,000 lands, and he is a hero to inspire a new generation of warriors. He is just the legend. And it is every bit as good as that cover makes it out to be. Fantastic book. It was easily one of my top reads of the year. Next, we have Alternatives. This is all new electrifying stories of original science fiction edited by David Gerald. It says, another nova of superb new young writers, unfettered by strictures and taboos, who probe the forbidden, plumb the farthest reaches of inner and outer space, and soar to mind-searing heights in an extraordinary collection of never-before-published speculative fiction. This thin volume sounds like it is treading awfully close on the area that Dangerous Visions was treading. So this was put together in 1974. So let's see what we've got in here. We've got some Jack C. Haldeman, Barry Malzberg. We've got Greg Bear in here. Okay. Any others I recognize? We've got a couple of Arthur Byron covers. Yeah, I don't recognize the other names, but there's a couple of them. I mean, Greg Bear's a big name. Haldeman is definitely worthwhile. So I'm intrigued. I'm still fresh enough off of Dangerous Visions and the disappointment of it to be willing to pick this up soon. The next short story collection I'm grabbing is my Block and Bradbury for Horror Mayhem. But I think shortly after that, I'll probably roll into that. And see how that stacks up to the failure that was Dangerous Visions. So we have 3 to go. The Space Barbarians by Tom Godwin. This is author of Space Prison. In 3 bloody years of space war, the barbarians of the hell world Ragnarok had destroyed the Gurn Empire and freed the civilized planets of Earth and Athena from alien domination. But the Earthenians feared and hated the men of Ragnarok and resented the superhuman strength and speed which had won the victory. And when a new threat from beyond the stars struck at Ragnarok and left it desolate, the barbarians were strictly on their own, abandoned to certain destruction by the rest of mankind. So there you go. So this is kind of a loose follow-up, it sounds like, to Space Prisons, because it says, in the classic Space Prison, Godwin told the memorable story of the forced settlement of Ragnarok and the new race it bred. Space Barbarians carries that race to unimaginable destiny, waiting at the farthest reaches of the galaxy. So there we go. That sounds interesting enough. Then we have Space Prison. Hey, how about that? And this is even shorter. So there we go. We'll be reading that first. Need to put these in order. Crushing gravity, thin air, winters of unimaginable cold, searing summers under 2 suns, a deadly wasteland teeming with monsters and killing fever. That was Ragnarok, the most dreaded planet yet discovered. And Ragnarok was where 1,000 untrained Earthmen, and women and children, were brutally marooned by a sadistic enemy. 200 died the first night. In the morning, the survivors knew what they must live for: revenge. So there we go. Okay. So I got a duo from Tom Godwin. And we end as everything should end, with Warcraft, right? With a movie tie-in, the official movie prequel. So this is Warcraft Durotan. This is a story by Chris Metzen, novel by Christy Golden. In the world of Draenor, the strong and fiercely independent Frost Wolf clan are faced with increasingly harsh winters and thinning herds. When Gul'dan, a mysterious outsider, arrives in Frostfire Ridge offering word of a new hunting lands, Durotan, the clan's chieftain, must make an impossible decision: abandon the territory, pride, and traditions of his people, or lead them into the unknown. And, I have not watched the Warcraft movie. Haven't really played any of the Warcraft games. I briefly dabbled into World of Warcraft, not even in its peak. I feel pretty comfortable saying that I can just pass on that one because that's a couple hundred pages. Looks like over 300 pages of stuff that probably isn't going to really draw me in. And yeah, I've got other things I really want to get to. So I don't need that languishing on my shelves. So we're slowly making a little bit of room on these shelves with just pruning a few out here and there. And that's good because that means that when the challenge is over, when I'm able to buy books again, I'll have space for them. And that's a great thing. So thank you for watching. This one was a little long. Sorry for the kind of rambly, even though I couldn't read the backs of two of them. I will catch you later.